Egg Smoke.
Baylor men's basketball coach, a national championship coach, Scott Drew, joins us on 365 Sports. Big 12 tournament, of course, has begun. Hell of a game going on right now between Cincinnati and West Virginia. In the second game, UCF won the first against Oklahoma State. Scott, thanks for your time. What are you most proud of with what you and the program have accomplished since where you were when you started, where it was, to where you are now?
That's a tough question. Someone said we have 54 pro players, which is outstanding. We've set since 2008, us and Kansas, the only two schools to win 18 or more a year, and that's great consistency. Recently, most proud of 5 straight years with 11 plus wins, the only one in the Big 12 to do that, and I heard the other day there's only been 4 schools that have won a game in the NCAA tournament the last 4 years, and we're one of those, one of 4 schools to be a top 3 seed in the last 4 years. So I know a lot of times people would just look at the final result, and that is like, is it a national championship? Is it a Final Four? But in today's day and age, I mean, when you say that, only 4 teams have actually won a game in the last 4 years in the NCAA tournament. Just shows you how hard it is with the parity to do that year in and year out. So the consistency is what I'm most proud of with our program. And a lot of times you might have a great year followed up by a terrible year and then an average year, and then you build. But we've had guys each and every year come in, and I mean, this year only one returning starter in the Big 12. And, once again, they find a way to put ourselves in position to get a double bye.
Well, you mentioned the double bye there, Scott, and it is, 14. It's going to be 16 next year. You guys it doesn't really change your strategy because it's now the same. You start on Thursday, and you hope you're playing again through Saturday at the tournament. But do you think it changes how the teams that will play today and tomorrow have to approach this? Seeing as if you're Cincinnati or West Virginia is playing right now, you have to get ready to play 4 or 5 days in a row.
Well, I think it would be hard to be a team that presses 40 minutes and win 5 games in 5 days. But the one good thing about postseason is, and with the timeouts, they're so long, guys are in such good shape, trainers and strength coaches do such a good job. I mean, as long as you're not really pressing or doing something that's extraordinary as far as exerting energy, you're gonna do with what got you to the dance, and go with who was it, dance with who got you there. And so, I mean, teams are going to play how they play. They're not going to try to change too much or mix it up too much, I would think.
How much did Langston love getting minutes in Lubbock, despite the game being a loss? How much does that help this week?
Well, it should help a lot from the standpoint. A lot of times people look and someone comes back and they just look at how they did. And it's a team sport, and there's 4 other guys on the court. There's guys on the bench, so you get used to a certain routine, rotation, and then that changes, and you just always got to get used to something new. And you always want to go into the NCAA tournament with your best foot forward. Everybody knows their roles, knows what to expect, and then you're always going to have maybe foul trouble or illnesses or whatnot, but you like to have a general idea, and that's why getting players back and having a chance to get used to playing with him is so critical, because Langston did a great job and was a bright spot in Tech. But it's not like you insert somebody and all of a sudden that they're back to being what they were and the team's back to being what they were before because it's a chemistry game. It's you're used to playing with people and you're feeding off of their movements and what they do, and you have a role. It's a mental game. This is when I'm playing, how much I'm playing. I mean, all that comes into account. So getting him back was huge.
Scott, this is a new era of the Big 12 with the expanded teams. How much more scouting do you have to do in the short amount of time in the tournament?
Well, I tell you, it's harder from the standpoint when you had 9 teams. You played everybody twice, so you knew everything about everybody. Now, some teams you only played once, and it might have been early in the year. They might be a completely different team now because of somebody's injury or style of play. They start out a year and they're doing one thing. They mid-year to the end of the year change it. So there is a little more scouting involved, and a little more unfamiliarity.
How much or which of the two freshmen, and I know Miro Little's a part of this too, but with Eves Missy and Jacoby Walter, how much have they grown up in this, I guess, this first year and depended on their future at Baylor University?
Well, I think both of them are sophomores now. They played enough minutes, been in enough situations, had enough experiences. They played a ton of minutes and done a lot for freshmen, especially in nowadays standards. I mean, if you look, two other freshmen to start in a Power 5 conference and play this much. I mean, there might be only one or two other schools or three schools tops that has had that. So they deserve a lot of credit. One, physically, to be able to play every game and go through the rigors and the toughness of the Big 12 and facing 22, 23, 24-year-olds. And then also the mental side of it. And both of them kind of had different spectrums, meaning Jacoby came in a little more touted and on the draft boards, and then he starts with 28 points. And, I mean, the bar was set so high for him, and that's really hard to do all season. I mean, that's shoot, you score 20 and it's a bad game, you know? So he's done a phenomenal job, and he's not a stat guy. He's a team guy. He's whatever it takes for the team to win. That's what he's about. And then Eve is somebody that early on he was good, but he didn't have as big a workload as Jacoby. And as the year went on, more and more was put on his plate, and he's done a great job responding to all the physicality because inside, I mean, that's another level. It's very similar to football. I mean, skill positions, you see some freshmen playing, but you don't see a lot of linemen play their first year because of the physicality inside.
Eve had that great game against Kansas that followed up, a week earlier, the last home game he played against Houston. For most of the game, he just was not a factor offensively at all, and he was struggling. What does it say about a kid that's so young that in a week he can go from having his probably worst game of the season to maybe even his best? It speaks to his mental toughness and his desire to play well and improve and help the team. And at the same time, hopefully at this time of year, as a coaching staff, you go through all of this so that you can be the best and the most consistent at this time of year. So you have a bad game here and you go home.
Scott, you have the new arena, the Foster Pavilion. You've waited for this forever. It's given you, although a couple of the losses and they were overtime games, you were here when nobody else really wanted to be here. You've built this program up. You mentioned all the consistent stats, et cetera, trends. Can you imagine yourself not coaching at Baylor University?
Hopefully, one thing's for certain, and that is we win a bunch of national championships and bring a lot of trophies back here to Baylor, and I'd love to be a part of that. I know this year and we won the national championship, and the next year we started out 15-0, and then we had the injury to LJ and John at the beginning of the year to Langston, and I mean I thought that year we could have won it again, and then the year after, I mean we were number 9 seed overall. So we've had opportunities, and we've had talented players that have done a great job in putting the team first. And as long as we keep doing that, and our Mac Rhodes and President Livingstone have always made sure that they've kept us at a level where we can compete for national championships. And as you know, as a coach, that's what you want, because you're not in it to lose. And so many great memories. We had Wendy Paul Mills' wife was down here today with her daughter, a junior, and she was looking at Baylor, and we were showing her around. She was looking at Paul Mills' old office and reminiscing and telling stories. So we were recruiting her today, so we're always recruiting. You know that.
Absolutely. Last thing, we've heard coaches discuss what they have experienced. Bill Self gushed over the Foster Pavilion, saying it was dozens and dozens and dozens times better than where Baylor used to play. Kelvin Sampson has made very positive comments, and other coaches have as well. I know you don't have to say much about it, but you've experienced it every time. Has it been better than you thought it would be, even though there are still so many amenities and so much construction that needs to be finished?
Yeah, I can tell you that the noise level is exactly what I had hoped and envisioned, and I know with moving forward, again, we were really limited this year. You treated it like an NBA arena where you showed up, you shot around, you played a game, you practiced the day before, but you never spent any other time in there. So, I mean, before the first couple conference games, those teams spent as much time as we did in there. So it was your home, but it wasn't really your home, you know? And once we get in this summer, guys get a chance to get all the shots in and the time in and really get a feel for it. And it becomes an even better home court advantage. And then with game management, I know they do a phenomenal job, but they got a lot of ideas once it's finished to continue to improve and make it even a tougher venue. And you've traveled some in the Big 12, and that's what makes the Big 12 the best conference, not just the quality of coaches and players, but the fan support in the arenas. So hard to win on the road. I mean, we just played at Tech, and Ken Palm Analytics had it as the number one home court advantage. And I mean, there's 363 schools, so I mean, like, that's a lot of schools to be number one. So it just shows you how hard it is to win on the road against what we face, and the Foster gives you that opportunity.
I'll never forget that I was on a trip when you guys made to Ames, Iowa. It was freezing. They won the game, and the experience of that crowd was something that I always will remember, because you wanted me to kind of, you asked me, you want to go on a road trip and cover the team, and I did. And it was electric. And you're right, there's some great atmospheres, not just in Lawrence, but Ames and elsewhere, BYU and others, including Lubbock, and now the Foster Pavilion. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it very much. Good luck in Kansas City, Scott. We'll see you there.
Hey, thank you guys for all that you do.
Scott Drew, national championship coach at Baylor, with us on 365 Sports. They will wait for games